Greetings to you all, my listeners. We thank God so much for coming together once again. We are here with Basic Design and Technology. This is Basic 7. Do you remember last week we talked about the application of elements and principles of design in meal preparation? And you were able to come up with your concerns and your differences. Today we are moving away from application of elements and principles of design in meal preparation to solid figures. We've now entered into the pre-technical aspect, that's the core. We are going to talk about solid figures. Solid figures. Please take your notebooks and pens, pencils, and sit closely to your screen and take note of everything that I'm going to say and copy the notes as well. Let us look at some of the terms you are going to meet in solid figures. Some of the terms you are going to meet in solid figures. Solid is a magnitude that has length, height, and breadth. We are going to meet apex. Apex, it is the topmost edge of a cone or pyramid. The topmost edge of a cone or pyramid. A base, the lowest part of a solid on which it rests or stands. Then we have axis. It is the imaginary line joining the centers of the bases in prisms and cylinders and the base to the apex in pyramids and cones. You are going to meet the word generator. Please, not the one that we normally use in our various homes for electricity or to generate electricity. This one we are talking about solid figures. Generator. It is a straight line drawn on the curved surfaces of cylinders and cones. Now let's take prisms first. The solid figures we are going to talk about today are prisms and pyramids. We are going to talk about prisms and pyramids. So let's take prisms first. When we say prisms, what comes in mind? Prisms are solids whose top and bottom ends are equal and parallel. That is prisms. They are solid figures whose top and bottom ends are equal and parallel. They are named according to, please put the E there. They are named according to the shape of their bases. So you can only name prisms according to their bases. For example, let us look at examples of prism. We have triangular prism. Triangular prism indicates that the base takes the form of what? Triangle. That is why it's called triangular prism. So whenever you want to draw the prism, you make sure that the base takes the form of triangle. Then we have rectangular prism. It means the base takes the form of a rectangle. Hexagonal prism. When we say hexagon, is a figure with 6 equal sizes. 6 sizes. So hexagonal prism may take the base of what? A hexagon. Then we have cube. Cube, you know cube, they all have equal sizes. So the base takes the form of a cube. Then we have cylinder. One may wonder why cylinder is a prism. Cylinder is a prism because it has circular ends and a curved surface. You know the other side, the two sides, they run parallel to the circular base, both top and down. That is why it has been considered as a prism. So we now know the examples of prisms. We can define prisms. We are going to have a look at some of the images or the the prism itself. Now these are the images of the prisms we are talking about. Look at the square prism. The square prism is taking the base, look at the base, and even the top. The top is taking the form of a square, and the base is also taking the form of a square. That is why it's called square prism. Look at the hexagonal prism. The top and the base, they all take the form of what? Hexagon. Then let's take triangular prism. Triangular prism, that is the C, triangular prism. The base is a triangle and the top is a triangle. Let us take a cylinder, cylindrical prism. The cylindrical prism is taking the form of a curved what? Surface, but look at the both ends, it runs in parallel. That is why we have considered it to be a prism. Then we have what we call truncated rectangular prism. Truncated rectangular prism. It has a slanted what? Shape. Now let's take the next one, the last one, which is rectangular prism. Rectangular prism. It's also take a form of what? Rectangle. So these are some of the examples of prism. So in your examination, when you're asked to mention or draw any of the prisms, they are now at your doorsteps that you'll be able to do it. Now let's move on to the second solid figure, which is pyramids. Pyramids. What are pyramids? Before we move on to define pyramids, I hope you've eaten the cone ice cream before. We have an ice cream that they normally put in a cone. The cone is also edible. It has the handle, or where you are going to hold has the what? The shape of a what? Prism. In the Egyptian country, in the olden days, they normally put up figures or buildings in the form of what? Prism. And we want to know the reason why it is called, in the form of pyramids. We want to know the reason why they name their buildings as what? Pyramids. Now, pyramids are solid with flat sides, which slope to a point at the top called the apex. They have triangular faces. Now we are saying that pyramids, they have what we call a meeting point called the apex. Now the two parallel lines may run and meet at a point, it will close at a point and give you a triangular face. That is why it's called a pyramid. So pyramids have apex. That is why they are called pyramid. Now let us look at the characteristics or features of pyramid. Something that you see which will tell you that this is a pyramid. We have a base. It has a base, slant height, vertical height, and it has apex, and then it has the what? Axis. Now let us look at the types of pyramids or examples of pyramids. One, we have triangular pyramids, square pyramids, hexagonal pyramids, and then we have a cone. Why is a cone a pyramid? Because it's a figure which has a circular base and curved tapered what? Surface. That is why it's called a cone. I hope you all know a cone. Now we are going to take a critical look about these figures we have mentioned. These are the examples of pyramids we were talking about. You could see the square pyramids. Now look at the top. The top of the square, the parallel lines are emerging. They are meeting at a point. It has closed at a particular point, or let's say it is vanishing. If in perspective we say it is vanishing point, that edge is known as the apex. So the top is the what? Apex. Then the base looks like a square. So you realize that we normally name these pyramids and prism according to the shape they take. Now let's take a cone. Look at a cone as well, and then look at the triangular pyramid and the hexagonal pyramids. My dear listeners, I hope you have really enjoyed this lesson for today. I'm not going to take much of your time, but try as much as possible to go through and identify the pyramids and the prisms we have. And then you should know the reason why this is called a pyramid and the reason why this is called a prism. On this note, your facilitator would like to end here, and we shall continue next week in our Zoom lesson. In our Zoom lesson, we are going to continue with prisms and pyramids. This is the end of the lesson for today. Stay safe. Stay safe. Add it to it. Stay safe. Goodbye.